For me, it was also most of all thanks to my parents, because they are still supporting me artistically. We can very much. I can talk to them about all these things all the time. They are both artists, so they are also giving me lots of suggestions and support, knowledge, and but most of all, the hope.
Oh,
the,
yes.
the hope and the energy to the good energy.
Sarai, it's so great to meet you here on Zoom.
Me too, yeah.
And I'm so grateful for Davide Damiani, who gave me your name and told me about you. And it's so interesting to see what you're doing.
Yes.
So how do you know Davide?
We get to know because I'm also a musician, so the world is very small.
Yeah.
And we get to know here in Vienna. And yes, I'm here since 1 year in Vienna, but I studied in Graz before, in the University of Music. Then I decided to move here and start as a freelance composer, which was, I would say, the best choice for the moment.
Really?
Yes. I was thinking a lot about which city in Europe. I was considering also other cities, also because I already moved quite a lot, and I don't have really difficulties on changing place where to live.
Really? Mm.
And Vienna is really an amazing place for starting. And I mean, also, if I have to remain longer, would be also beautiful.
That's
as well.
amazing. Yeah.
Yes.
But where are you from originally?
Originally, I'm from Italy. I'm from Rome, and also from Japan. Yeah.
So which do you consider home, Japan or Rome?
That's a very interesting question. I could speak for a really long time for that. But to make it shorter, both. Absolutely
Okay.
both. Because especially as a person in contact with art every day, I would say that the Italian heritage, it's very important to me. The creativity, the fantasy, and also lots of colors. And
Yeah.
the Japanese culture is much different. It's completely the opposite of the Italian one, but also in general from the Western culture is completely the opposite. So it's really like having something like that.
Yes. Yeah.
And sometimes it's a struggle for myself, because unconsciously I have it in my blood, both things. But sometimes it's difficult to find a balance, because Japanese culture is very much more. It's not that creative, I would say.
Okay.
It's not that creative. So
it's more a safe. It seems like more a safe culture. Everybody is just being safe all the time.
Yes.
You know, not crossing boundaries and so on.
Yeah. And absolutely, they start the day just thinking of the duty. And duty is really the first thing ever. And also the first thing and the last. Like, the most important thing in life is doing your duty. Duty for your society, duty for the family, for yourself, and working. They are really work alcoholic. this can be sometimes also a bit dangerous. But I also have that. So
Oh, okay.
I have it. Yeah.
And then the Italian side is the more free-spirited side.
It is. We have a different conception of the time, I would say, and a different way of manage also the time. So Italian people usually the culture itself it's more like working a little bit in the last minutes, but also at the end being on time, I would say.
Oh, okay.
The things like instead of organizing the time with a proper schedule, like step by step and doing it very structured, we try to do everything more less time, but at the end, sometimes we
It's
manage.
done.
So it's really a different approach. It's more passionate, I would say, more for me, more creative, and spontaneous also, and less structured, which is completely the opposite of Japan, who is thinking everything in advance, planning everything in advance, and doing step by step. Everything has a very precise order, structure. And this is also, we can see that also in the society, in the family, like things are still very structured and also, yeah, still very much
in that way. But
yeah.
I've been a few weeks ago, I went to Italy for the first time in my life.
Oh, really?
I went to Florence, and I could even spot from the air. I mean, from flying from Vienna to Italy, you can actually spot from the air. You can already see the difference in the landscape, in the way the farms are laid out, and everything. And the moment you get at the airport, you already sense that very much that happy-go-lucky almost feeling, and I loved it. I loved how they operate. I love the hospitality there, and you can actually sense that. I've never been to Japan, so I cannot say what I sense there, but I can completely understand how that is so different. But as an artist, you have the privilege to tap into both sides really, and use it to your benefit.
Yes, but that's why I also choose to stay in Vienna, actually, because I think for me, as far as I experienced until now, also in other cities in Europe, like London, Paris, whatever, I think it's something in the middle. For me,
Really?
it's a center point between these two cultures, because I still perceive a lot of colors and fantasy here in Vienna. I mean, especially for the music, it's a wonderful, wonderful platform and atmosphere, like magic, extremely magic for me, and really unique. And at the same time, it's a country where I still can feel very comfortable with my discipline in my work alcoholic behavior,
Oh, yeah.
which is sometimes very problematic when I stay in Italy, because I really feel that my lifestyle doesn't match at all with the Italian culture, and again, it's not about who is working more or less. It's just the organization of the time, the conception of the time, also being less or more precise with the time, and yeah, time. I would say time. And I think in every continent it's different how we perceive the time, and we structure the day, the weeks, the months, and the years.
Yeah.
So
No, that's true. And but you studied in Graz. what initially made you want to do composing? Because what instrument did you play before?
I played piano, classical piano, absolutely. I only lived with classical music until I was 24 years. And just before applying to Graz, I started to open also my mind to any other musical genre, especially contemporary music, and now film music. So it was from my background in the family also. I grew up always with opera, with classical music every day. And that's why I studied also piano in Italy. But I absolutely have to say that I have more discipline for composition.
Okay.
It's much easier for me to spend hours of time without really feeling the effort of doing it. And I think that's the very easy answer to you, to recognize that maybe it's your path rather than another one.
Exactly.
Even if I consider,
Somebody once said it's your flow. When you get to that point where you love what you're doing, it doors open for you and things just happen for you, and it's in that sort of flow that you go.
yeah, and I would say also it has to be a need, maybe in this case. So I really need to do that. So if I
Okay.
stop, some days I feel almost, I would not say sick, but
Yeah.
it's really a need. It's not something that you study and then you look for a job. It's not, of course, the process is there. It's the same for every job, but the attitude is it's a little bit different, of course. In especially composition is quite a delicate field, I would say.
But when you grew up, you said you had the experience of classical music, of opera. Do you come from a family where a musical family, where your parents are musicians?
Yes, my mom was also an opera singer, and she's the Japanese part of the family. So at that time, also when she came to Italy. Italy was very famous for studying opera, and my father and all my father's family. They are in visual art, designer, painter, sculpture, and everything with visual art. So, but the funny thing is that my parents never forced me to study anything about art or
Really?
even to practice. So I had the piano at home. My mom was also teaching all the time, and I grew up with that feeling every day. So they had a very good strategy because they never told me to study music or art, and I was asking them to learn about drawing, painting, or music, and I think it's the best way to let it spontaneous to a child, but. Of course, I don't think it works for everyone. So for sure, it has to be something that you have to have already an interest inside you, and then if you see that there is a space with all these tools, with people who can teach to you, then for a child it's like a miracle to have this ability and to go there and ask to learn. And
Yeah, because I think because now that you're talking about that, I think when you don't know about sculpting, or you don't know about painting or any visual art, how do you know if you're really interested? So it has to come on your path in a way for you to be interested in it, and the music, of course, that you heard, and you could make then the choice in which direction you wanted to go. So what was it about the piano that interested you?
The piano actually came very late. So I started when I was 17, which is already extremely late. That's also why it was very difficult to keep doing this as a professional career, because especially nowadays we know how stressing it is, especially for the age limit and whatever. But I started piano because I still consider a piano the most complete instrument, and to me, it's a very interesting instrument because it's so black and white, but you can create really entire words. So because of the big range that we have on the piano, it's really possible for me. It's very fascinating that it's even possible to make a reduction of an entire opera, for example, and to be able to play it on a piano, or an entire symphony can be transcribed for piano. So I think for a composer is the mandatory instruments, because it has the biggest possibility to explore and to think big, really to think big. So for example, I am more fascinated by symphonic repertoire. I really never compose for piano.
Really?
Never compose for piano. I don't have so much inspiration for piano, but I am fascinated that with the piano I can also try things that can be possible for an orchestral piece or whatever. So I like the idea to have the possibility to try it by myself and be able to structure everything, and that's also very important. Yeah.
But you said that it's only later that you became interested in composing, but did you never before had this idea or had an urge to compose?
Never.
Really?
Never. Music was really something that came very late, and it was because of a piece from Brahms that actually my life completely changed. And it's the Clavier Concert number 2. When I discovered that piece, I think my something extremely spiritual happens, and was something that also yeah, was really strong experience. I would say it's the only piece really in my life that gave me such a very different feeling. So I perceived that not only as a piece, not only as music, but something that really gave me something spiritual. And I really started to fall in love with piano repertoire. So I listened tons of music. I had CDs at that time, which was wonderful. Having CDs, some of them belonged to my parents, so I also had this opportunity to take them and listen. And then I started also to buy by myself and to look. I really had this interest to do that, and was still very beautiful to go to the musical shops and to find your favorite recording, or to listen different recordings at the shop.
It's amazing.
For that moment.
We don't do that anymore.
We don't do that, but I will try to do that again at some point.
So then you got inspired by Bach, by music.
Yes, I became inspired by even other composers, especially from the Romantic area and Scriabin also. And of course, then I studied piano in two conservatories of music in Italy, actually near Florence.
Oh, really?
In Lucca, which is the hometown of Puccini, so extremely musical city. And from that moment, I think I just focused on music, and was very hard because I grew up with uh, doing lots of things at the same moment. But then when I really focused on music and I started to think that this could be my career, then I took it in a different way. I took it very, very seriously. And I entered into a mentality that I want to study because I want to do this as a job in the future. So things changed completely. Otherwise can be very, very abstract studying music. So if you don't have this idea from the very beginning, it's quite difficult. It's quite difficult.
So you have to be totally focused on the music.
Yes, absolutely. And also make a little bit of sacrifices in terms of free time and keep going on your path and believing on that and be very strong inside. And also don't consider it too much an abstract art. That's the thing that I think you learn with the time, with experience, that is something very practical, actually, especially for a composer. I think everyone thinks it's more something creative, but it's only it's a lot of practice also, because if you write something that is not playable, it can be a disaster. And everything you write should be played and performed, so it has to work perfectly. So
yeah. So, and did you at some point before you started studying composing, was there a point where you didn't enjoy playing the piano anymore, or did you still want to do it but just thought you wanted to do something else as well?
That's also an interesting question, because I always loved piano and I still love it. And actually, I miss a lot studying pieces, or I also thought about maybe keeping both careers together, even if I was already aware of the fact that starting a career as a pianist also really has to be the same line with the age and all practical things. So no, I never had the feeling of I never had bad feelings with piano. And composition came at the same time, because I started composition when I was still finishing my degrees, a master degree in piano. So the two things overlapped. I just think that for piano, you need a different discipline.
Okay.
It's a different discipline, different attitude, and also I think I can give myself more and something more special with composition. I think I have more things to say there. That's a very easy answer also. I think if there is something where you feel you can say something more interesting.
Yeah, so you can express yourself better.
I can express myself, yes.
Okay, so then you studied composition in Graz, and but composition already is such a huge field. So how did you start the interest in film composing?
This is also something I think is in the middle between the two words, the classical and the contemporary. Because just to make it shorter, what is also contemporary? Because when people who are not musician also listen. The word contemporary music don't have any idea of which kind of music
Yeah.
it is, no? Because everything which is written nowadays is contemporary. So the classical contemporary, let's say, which is especially here in Austria, very experimental and experimenting on the instruments, things that go beyond any borders and extremely extended techniques and whatever. Having this very, very classical background in my education, in the family, but also really in myself, I think that film music is something in the middle because for film music, you need both. You need both. I think it's like for the dance. You need a classical preparation, but then having studied contemporary music here in Austria was a very good choice because I really broke all my, let's say, boxes I had about the classical music. And I just get to know that there are other ways to treat the instruments and that you can really have no limits on what you want to write. That's beautiful for an artist to have this sensation of total freedom and no any limits because it's your piece, so you decide what to write, what you want to express, no? And but at the same time, I'm very much based and focused on classical music and classical culture, also with visual art, because I think there is no chance to create something from zero, completely revolutionary, completely new. Every great composer had some connection with the past, which doesn't mean to be nostalgic or repeating, or it's just be also humble. That we have to learn from the giant of the past, and everyone has a very little piece from the past, but then make it something new.
I've never thought of it that way, but yeah, that's completely right. And that's so important that we realize that.
Yeah, I realized that especially when I arrived in Graz, because also around my other classmates or people in the university, I thought at the beginning everyone has a background with classical music or everyone play an instrument, but it was not like that. Like many people were starting their studies directly with contemporary music, just having a basic background because of the admission test, of course, but most of people were also not playing piano for years, so just a very basic knowledge. But I really studied like hard pieces for piano, virtuosistic things, Ravel, Liszt, whatever. So I think that this was very helpful, extremely helpful. And not just in art. I think nowadays for a young person, it's very important to have a connection with the classical world because it's a way to always remain in your path. and
Oh,
not
yeah.
getting lost.
Mm.
Especially nowadays that, for example, in composition, there are tons of languages. The world is very, very, the opportunities are lots.
Mm.
There are lots of distractions, temptations, because you, as a creative person, you are tempted by all these styles and you want to try different. And it's difficult to focusing on who you really are and what you really want to say, what you really want to express. And of course, having studied in Graz made me was an advantage for me to also study things that I didn't like, also listen music I didn't like, because sometimes it's also necessary to then come back to your own
Oh, yeah.
words and to say, yes, okay, this is something I don't want to do, or this is something I don't want to write, and this is my word. So if you
Yeah,
take it
that's
in this way,
yeah, but that's very interesting because you first have to know what you don't want, and what you want, so that you find that place or that route that you want to go in. And it's also interesting that you mentioning that with all this freedom of really you can create anything you want, but it does also have to make sense, so and you have to find that from somewhere, and like you say, you have to find that from people who already did it.
yes. Yes, and especially for film music, this is even more complicated because, as I said, in film music, you can use every style and language also because depends on what are we talking about. And I use the word film music to say, let's say media, anything like documentaries, short movies, film, or even trailers or commercial videos. It really depends on what is necessary in that project. If the film is historical or a horror or a science fiction or whatever. And then for a composer, it's important to be flexible, no? But then I think that it's impossible to be able to compose in all styles. Maybe technically is possible, but to do it well in
Mm.
every style, write an amazing pop song and at the same time being a fantastic composer in the symphonic world and writing an opera. I think, yeah.
Mm. No,
At
I
least to
understand what, yeah.
me, it's not so important to have a huge curriculum and to say I wrote tons of pieces with lots of
Yeah.
styles. For me personally, it's not that
Mm.
interesting. I really
So
prefer.
you find your own style. You find something that you also enjoy doing, but it's more identifiable. So that's your style that you want.
Yes, I think this is something I'm finding now after 1 year of finishing my very long studies.
Mm.
Uh, because I think it's something you can find when you really feel all the responsibility on yourself.
Mm.
And until you're a student, it's obviously not like that because it's a safety place. University
Oh,
is a
yeah.
very safety place,
Mm.
and everything is already structured for you.
Mm.
The schedule, the exams, everything is very structured. Especially here in Austria, is really perfectly structured,
Yeah.
and you just have to study to make your exam, to do your tasks that you are required to do, and basically that's all. Um, when you finish that, I think you really have the possibility to be with yourself completely alone, and to really ask yourself these kind of questions. Because I think before starting to write, you have to have your ideas very clear inside, what you want to express. And sounds very obvious, but it's nowadays not anymore obvious, I would say, because there are so many distractions, so many things, and people are focusing so much on the quantity, like having lots of
Oh, yeah.
projects, having finding lots of jobs opportunities, which is completely fine, but sometimes doesn't give you the time to really ask yourself what you really want to express, and automatically what you really want to be.
Yeah, and I
Oh,
can imagine that, coming from this structured university routine, and then suddenly it's almost as if you're out in the world and you have to now find your place,
yeah.
and you have to find the jobs and so on. So yeah, it is important that you find, because you cannot be the best you are if you didn't understand what you can give.
Yes, yes. Also, I think you don't really have the time and the focus when you
Yeah.
study, especially because now the programs, I think in all Europe, as far as I know, are different from the programs of 6 7 years ago. They are now like university, so you really have lots of subjects, lots of professors. It's really like any other university of other subject, medicine or whatever. And before, studying music was more in like an academy. It was
Okay.
just practical. For example, for a pianist, was just piano, only piano, and very few things like solfeggio or history of music, but very much in general. And now, I don't know. I didn't count how many exams I did, but it was probably like
Okay.
60 or even more.
Wow.
And um, it's everything more specific. Everything is split into subject. And this is something I'm really not completely confident, but it's not a problem of here, it's everywhere. In the universities, it's like the system is different.
Like that. Mm.
Um, but I just don't agree so much on
Mm.
this system. But there are no any other chance to study music in a different way, because also University of Music is the top level, so
You
uh,
have to do it that way.
you
Mm.
have to accept this. It's just the structure of the studies, which is nowadays very much uh, full, a lot of theory also, lots of theory, and a lot of also bureaucratical things,
Oh, yeah. But do you think,
emails, and
yeah, do you think that it's could have been more sort of career focused, in the sense that it also gives you the opportunity to know how to market yourself in the industry?
so sorry, the question is.
So if you do you think the if you study composing, that the elements should rather be focused on how do you get yourself in the industry, how do you market yourself, how do you get the jobs, and then in how do you find that place where you know what the style is that you're writing?
Absolutely. This is also something that I missed a lot during the studies. There was no any real preparation for the um, after studies
Yeah, the industry. Yeah.
for the
Mm.
industry. Um, no any structured preparation. It was just teachers were sharing their experiences and giving suggestions, but there was no any real path to give you the tools to structure your life after the studies and be prepared for the world of job. And I think this is something not nice. Because then you lose a lot of time at the beginning to also figure out how to be in this world, which is also a lot of time that you lose instead of focusing on create, but no any other chance.
Yeah, so many artists say that, even musicians say that the moment they step out, it's like you have to now find where do I do concerts? And it's not just the concert, it's that being invited back and all those things. And I spoke to a pianist a while ago, and she said that it took her 2 years really to figure that out and to get herself out there. And it's you think that should have been part of or went alongside the studying, so that at least you're prepared when you get out. I
Yes.
say get out, but get when you qualified in university.
Yes, I believe the same, and I think this is something that we already recognize among lots of people, because I was talking about this during my studies, also with my other classmates, and we were all saying this, that we were missing a lot this kind of preparation, which should be as important as the cultural knowledge, because it's a proper job, and it's nothing abstract. It's a real job that we have to structure as any other job. So yes, this is something that I hope that will be part of the preparation of young musician in the future, because it's very, very important, because it takes a lot of time at the beginning. It's also energy, and having the motivation to be always
to be prepared also for that.
Yes.
I've recently spoken to filmmakers and writers, and it might be a good idea if I get you in contact with them, so you can
absolutely
so
yes,
I think it's a lot of and I mean, the film industry is such a collaborative industry, because there's so many people involved in a film, and you never. I think sometimes we watch a film and we don't even realize what a big part the music of the film plays in the story. So, is this also something that you enjoyed? About the whole composing for film, that you part of the story.
Yes. Also, that's why I choose that part of music, because I get inspired more if I have also a narration or images, or if it's absolute music, is a bit more difficult for me to imagine. And I also think it's connected with my education and childhood. Like, I spent lots of time doing several exploring several fields, from botany, from painting, costume. I was interested also in costumes, from the theater, costume design. And I really explored with my hands, not just seeing in the books or museums, but really doing with my own hands all these things. And in the film industry, in a film production, you have all this big team of people, everybody with a different position. And I think for me, it stimulates really my my background, and it's like pushing a button and
but
make it explode.
but isn't it amazing that you know that you have that background and that you can now use all this experiences that you have when you compose?
Yeah.
So,
It's really
but I spoke to a film composer also, I think last year or sometime, and he said that some of his music he composes without film, you know, like he composes the music as if it is a film, but there is no film. So he wants people to sort of experience a story through the music. And that I found so interesting.
yes. I also believe that the best soundtracks are music that you can absolutely appreciate and listen even without the movie. So, especially music that are played in concerts. For example, here in Musikverein in Vienna, they play sometimes the most famous soundtracks by, I don't know, Joe Williams or Hollywood movies.
Oh, yeah.
They are completely concerts without any visual reference, and they are like symphonic pieces. And I think that's those soundtracks are really the one who will remain in the history.
No,
Because
that's true.
you can appreciate them in a concert without the reference of the movie, and with the movie it works like a bomb. So that's also the connection with the classical background, having a knowledge in the classical music, having analyzed the score of composers from the past. It's a key maybe to then also write this kind of music, which is not just going synchronized with the movie, and then without the image there is no structure. Structure. And this remains a little bit more as a accompaniment, like a Begleitung for the image, but then without the image doesn't remain in the head, in the ear, or cannot be performed on a stage without the images on the background. And this I don't find for me interesting. It's something I don't want to do. Also because I believe that's the interesting soundtracks are the one who has a strong personality themselves. And if you find a director who also has a very interesting personality, and you put together a director and a composer who both are very much strong in the personality, I think it's exactly when the magic comes.
And yes. Yeah. No, but it's true when because the director is the one with the story basically in his head, and you are the one with the music in your head. So that comes together, then of course it's magic.
Yes, and I think can be also from both sides. The inspiration can be that maybe the director is inspired from the music that already exists from that composer, and get inspired by that that music or the personality of that composer, and then it stimulates a lot the creativity of the director, or the contrary. But I think when there is this healthy ambition ambition and competition between them, I think it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Oh, definitely, definitely.
But
But
a bit
Sarai, yeah,
competition also.
yeah. But Sarai, you've already figured out everything, and you know exactly the path that you want to go, and you have your ideas. So that's wonderful that you were able to do that. You know, that you were able to figure it out now and know exactly what you want to do.
Yes, it took me also many, many years. I think also because as I started as 70 years old, everything shifted. Usually, most of musicians I know, they started when they were children,
Oh yeah.
and I think it's much easier than to understand everything before. But for me, it was also most of all thanks to my parents, because they are still supporting me artistically. We can very much. I can talk to them about all these things all the time. They are both artists, so they are also giving me lots of suggestions and support, knowledge, and but most of all, the hope.
Oh
The
yes.
the hope and the energy to the good energy.
Mm. That's
The,
amazing. And that is what you
yeah.
need. That support,
Yes,
that's the support you
yes,
need because they
yes,
they know the road, that you have to go, and they are there and they also know what, the effort and
yes.
the perseverance you have to have. So how wonderful that you can also acknowledge that.
Yes, yes. I think it's for sure an advantage. But it's also for me a motivation, because I also know some young artists who comes from families of artists, and can be an advantage and disadvantage also, because you can feel also the pressure
Oh yes.
and the
Yeah.
responsibility of your family, and if you take it in a bad way. But if you take it in a good way, this can be transformed into a good motivation.
Mm.
You find your healthy competition. I call it healthy competition because I
Yeah.
think competition also can be bad or good, but
Yeah.
in a good way. It's like a powerful motivation, just to say that in your family you had these people successful in that field, and you also want to honor also them and honor yourself. And if you take it in this way, then
That's beautiful.
it's a
Yeah.
powerful energy.
Yeah.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes,
Yeah. But what I also really love, and I love that you mentioned that was your parents has given you the all the exposure to art and all the different forms of art. And my real wish is that more schools can give children the opportunity. You had that at home, so you were privileged to have that at home. But it would be so wonderful if schools have the possibility for children to explore and find an art form in which they can express themselves, even if they don't want to become artists, but that they at least have that background. Because you were also talking about all the different things you explored, and that now put together is going to shape how you go in your career and how you express yourself in your career. So, wouldn't it be wonderful if we can have that for every child, really?
Yes, yes. I think that instead of having an iPad, as I see nowadays,
Yeah, yeah.
at 4 years old or even less,
Mm.
they should really explore a lot nature and art, I think.
Yeah,
Because also, uh, again, classical art, classical music, it's all connected with nature. It's everything inspired with nature. Mythology is inspired by nature. Everything is really a lot. And I think
exactly. Yeah.
two things has to be the should be the basement for a child. And if there is not a possibility to be in contact with art, which I understand also requires a lot of situations, at least nature, which is more maybe possible.
Mm.
um, and to spend a lot of time in the nature and analyze what's happening. I remember as a child, well, I spent tons of hours in the garden and doing my own gardening and planting things and making projects and buying the plants, whatever. But I was also spending a lot of time without doing anything,
Mm.
just watching the leaves in
Oh,
the
yeah.
autumn and asking myself as a child, how does it work?
Oh,
Why
yeah, yeah.
they get yellow? Why they change color? Why this is scientific answers?
Yeah, but it's, yeah.
But as a child, it creates an entire world in your head, and then you start to really asking you questions. And I also have this because I was very much into scientific subjects. I did also scientific high
Mm.
school with a scientific direction.
Mm.
And I think this behavior of asking you question and asking question
Mm.
about what the surrounding is maybe a bit more, I would say, scientific.
Mm.
um, but yes, I
But
know
you
that.
connect the both. You connect them both. You know, the science and the art.
Yes, yes,
Mm.
yes, absolutely. Um, I understand that everyone has a different situation in the family, and also depends on in which city you are and which schools
Exactly.
are
Mm.
available for you. Um, but also to make a concrete example of my experience, I did extremely bad schools
Mm.
when I was living in Rome. I had really bad availability.
Mm.
Like the high school and the middle school I did was very bad,
Mm.
very bad teacher, very low level, very bad classmates,
Mm.
and was a nightmare.
Mm.
And I always ask my parents, why you, if we come from this artistic family and everything here, why you still keep me in this bad school, and why don't you move me in other
Mm.
much higher level schools with a good environment also for friends? And as a child, I was not understanding this. I was sometimes angry with them because I was suffering a lot in these schools, coming back home always very with a very bad energy. And I said, I lost time. I didn't learn things. I have to do again everything in at home,
Mm.
restarting everything because this in the school we were really losing lots of time.
Mm.
And I was asking myself why they keep me in this. If we have possibilities to do in a different way. Now I am very thankful for this choice
Really. Mm.
because um, this energy I took from the bad schools was my battery to then explore everything when I was at home. And because I was feeling not uncomfortable at school, I had this wish inside me spontaneously to explore in all these other fields and to dedicate myself a lot. And sometimes I imagine what could have been if I would have been in a beautiful school with a very beautiful program, perfect professors, and lots of friends. I think I would not be now here.
Really? But amazing how you can see that, and how you really took from that position, you could uplift yourself out of it.
I think this is also yeah, that's why now connecting with your question about children should have the possibility to do that when they are young and have the possibility in the schools or maybe in the family. Yes, of course, I believe that it's a privilege. It's a way to for a child to understand what they like, what they want to do, and to explore. But I do believe that everything you have inside at some points comes out.
That's
So
true.
if you really want to explore something, you find a way, even if you don't have the possibilities. And it can take time, for some people, maybe years, to have the chance to get in contact with their specific environment.
Oh, yeah.
But if you really want something, you find a way. So that's why I think my parents didn't just let me stay in those weird schools because they were trusting me. They understood that I had enough strength
To
to come
get,
back
yeah.
home, have lunch all together, and afternoon just explode like a bomb and do whatever, like opening books, drawings, going in the garden, and do things like crazy.
Yeah.
Because all this energy, bad energy, was transformed into, okay, now I really want to learn something.
But now how amazing also that you didn't fall into sort of this trauma in victimhood, that I went to this bad school, but you just changed it and into a good energy, like you say, there's a good energy explosion.
Yeah. Of course, when I was a teenager, I was into that drama because I was not understanding why. And I was complaining a little bit and asking really directly why should I stay here? And with the time, I think that I'm now understanding all the things, and I'm very thankful now. And the teenager time is really a crazy one.
It is definitely. I recently apologized to my parents for being a very rebellious teenager, but they've forgiven me over the years.
Okay. Yes. I think it's like I would just say a big lie if I say yes. When I was 15, I was into this. No, absolutely, I was also into the drama. I was very much into the drama. I was really coming back home with the mask. They really told me that when we pick you up from the school, you have like a mask, and then this go away immediately as soon as you come back. And I remember the biggest gift I ever received in that time was from my mom, and she picked me up from the school. And I don't know how she could imagine that that day was terrible. I don't know how she could have imagined that. I was really sad because I really wanted to learn things, and I felt very frustrated on just losing the time. I remember that I just entered into the car and she gave me a present. And it was encyclopedia of flowers.
Really?
It was a huge
Oh,
book.
I get goosebumps now.
Was a huge book with all names of flowers, trees, but mostly plants, really flowers, but really specific, more into botany, not just colorful images, and really like a scientific book. My life turned completely to that.
Really?
Yeah, because from that day, I fall in love with botany, and I wanted to learn the name of the flowers and finding the plants in the shops and planting in the garden, making research, and then connecting with them. I recently discovered um, the connection with Greek mythology. Lots of names comes from some flowers, ancient Greek name, and this is crazy amazing for me.
Amazing.
And and now it's my inspiration for my compositions. So I'm
That
now
had to
writing
be, yeah.
I'm now writing my first album, and these pieces are for sure influenced by all these connections. And
Wow.
so thanks to the bad classes I
Yeah,
had.
yeah. And your mom's intuition. A mom
Yes,
has that intuition. We just have that. Yeah,
was
yeah.
extremely random. Like I
Mm.
don't know how she could imagine that that day
That
that
book,
would
yeah.
would have changed completely everything.
Oh, no, I can understand. As a mom, I can understand that we have these intuitions.
Yes.
Oh wow! But Sarai, you have such a beautiful story and such a beautiful message, and I can just imagine that your music is also speaking that, and the energy of your music is so amazing. But what are the wishes for you for the future?
Oh, the wishes. Well, my goal is career is really working in the film industry full time. So my big dream is really working for movies. And but my biggest wish is not just reaching a high point in the career, or become famous, or having an amazing career. My biggest wish is to keep believing in the research of beauty, and not to accept any compromise on any other, let's say, commercial situations, which are absolutely not for me. And I absolutely respect, but they are really not for me. And I wish for myself to keep believing on this, because I really prefer to have yeah, my goal is really to write what I really want to write,
Mm,
which
mm.
is already a big privilege
Yeah,
nowadays, I think. Instead of really having tons of jobs opportunities which are not really
what you want.
satisfying,
Yeah.
or
But I
yes.
think I always think it's brave if you stick to what you want to do and how you want to do it. And it sometimes takes a while, but if if that counts for something, to be authentic, to be who you want to be, and how you want to do how you want to express yourself, how you want your art form to be. I think this is wonderful.
Yeah, it's also important to say no sometimes to projects you don't really feel
Yeah.
okay. Maybe if something is not really clear, or if uh, you think you have this intuition that something will not go in the right direction, also to be very patient and to say no, and not focusing on just having a list of a long curriculum, which is the worries of everyone nowadays. And I think that is harder to say no,
Absolutely.
and to be able to make a selection. To make a selection, this also requires lots of courage, because as a freelance,
Oh, yes.
especially I saw in this first year, you have the worries of having a lot of jobs, opportunities, and to look for a lot of things. But then you have really to trust yourself, and to trust that the good things will come. And it's like with the people, I think, if you are if it's very clear in your head what you want, it also attracts the situations and the people that are in the same line. So that's why I thought about making an album already, because it's like working on your own pieces, not the commissioned one, the one who you really want to show. And then people will see that, and will be much
Exactly.
easier to also engage you in any project, because they already have more clear what you can give and do. And yes.
Yeah. But I think that is amazing that you do that. And, it's really showing, and it's showing how you're going to work, and what your work is about. So I think it's wonderful that you spend the time to do that.
Yeah. And here in Vienna, it's I think the fantastic place
Really?
for that. Yes, because there are musicians every corner.
Yeah.
There are really musicians everywhere. There are no any excuse. There is everything. There are so many good tone engineers, so many studios, so many opportunity to be in contact with art, also with the very, very affordable price for concerts. The culture is very, very affordable for young people. And it doesn't take 1 hour time to get to the opera and to cross
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
entire city. It's everything very
Everything is
close.
there. Yeah. No, I
And
know.
no
Yeah.
excuse.
Yeah,
Really no
exactly.
excuse.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is the city has a wonderful energy as well. So I love it. I also love it here. Yeah.
It's unique. I think it's unique and has a lot of history. It's a lots of history, lots of layers. For example, Musikverein, I call it the temple. It's like a temple, because
Yeah.
if I imagine that the biggest musician of the history went there and they worked there, and the stage in that stage, they were the best director in the history, and there is still one of the best orchestras in the history.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just there is nothing more than this.
Yeah.
Nothing more than this.
No,
Uh,
that's true.
I think it's a wonderful, also the music hall is just wonderful, all gold, everything. But I think that things that really touch me is that knowing that there is a history, and you feel this in the
You
air.
absolutely do. I've been there, and literally, before a concert, sat and thought to myself, what an amazing, but I mean, for me, the all the gold embellishments and all the architecture already, there is something great in this place. So you can really feel it when you're there. even before the concert starts, you can already feel there's something special in
Yes,
these walls,
yes,
between
yes.
these walls. Mm.
Yes, yes, I do believe so. And I was recently in Budapest for just a couple of days of recharging and inspiration, and I was in the Museum of Franz Liszt, and also I was so fascinated by the energy, and it was just two small rooms with no lots of interesting things, just the pianos he has had and the bed where he was sleeping and a small library, like very, very quite simple, but was one of the most amazing museums I ever lived because of the energy inside. Was a place where I felt completely back in the past. I just
Really? Mm.
entered there and I felt in a capsule, in a bubble, outside from my century, back in another period.
Wow.
I think I don't know. I don't think there is an explanation. Is
Mm.
and was just very two small rooms with very minimalistic things and
But how amazing, that something like that can give you that feeling and that experience, something so simple,
yeah,
yet so big.
the history. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
But
yes.
Sarai, this was so great talking to you. You are really, and you're such an inspiration. You've got such a beautiful story, and I wish you all the best for your career and the best time in Vienna.
Thank you. But I really, really appreciate also to talk to you. And I was even more inspired by little talking and talking. And
Oh, that's great. I'm glad.
yes,
I'm
yes.
so
And
happy to know
yeah.
that. And I'm so grateful to Davide that he told me about you. I'm going to write to him and thank him.
Absolutely. Me too. I will be thankful as well. Yes. It's really
But
pleased.
yeah, I hope to meet you in person one day.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that will be great.
Yes, absolutely.